Hi, welcome to Caribou Country Lifestyle. My name is Cheryl. Today I'm going to be adding some more straw to the straw that I had put over my music garlic. I ended up picking up a bag of fine. This is just a finely chopped straw, and this is a 3 cubic foot bale that I've picked up from our local feed store, which is 85 liters. And I think this was like not even $10. It was under $10. But this straw, it is dust free, which protects your animal's lungs. It also is easy to use and versatile, composts quickly, adds nutrients to your fields and gardens. So this is what I have purchased. I'm just going to open this at the top. I'm not going to cut it down the middle because then I'll have a mess and I'll have straw everywhere. Should have had an X-Acto knife, but I don't know where it is. But I'm getting there. So, I just need to put a bit of a layer on here. And I know how fine this is, so I'm just going to drag this bag a little closer. Because I'm afraid that because it's so fine, that it's going to blow around everywhere. I don't need much. My sister showed me a picture of her setting up her garlic, and she had used leaf mulch, which I said you could use leaf mulch, and if I wanted to I could go and rake up all the leaves on my property, but that's time consuming, so I would just rather buy a bag of this and put it on. But she had also put lattice over the beds after she planted the garlic, put the leaves on. Then she put this lattice and kind of affixed it over the leaves, which I had to laugh because I knew exactly why she put that lattice there. I said, is that so that your leaves don't blow away? Because in Saskatchewan, oh my gosh, it is windy there. And she was like, yep, it's exactly why I have this. It's kind of a windy day, so I'm a little worried about this very light and fine straw that I'm putting on here, if it's not going to blow all over the place as well. And I'm also going to be using this straw for around my strawberry plants, because I need to put a layer of straw around the base of my strawberry plants, because this last summer I had a situation with worms, and there are these little tiny wire worm kind of worms, and if the strawberry touched the ground, these wire worms would all be up inside the bottom of the berry and had eaten it, made a total mess out of the strawberry. We couldn't eat it after that. So, but if the plant had straw underneath it and the berries were on the straw, then I didn't have any problem with worms on my strawberries and wrecking my strawberries. So I plan on using the rest of this, or however much I need, to fill in the gaps of where I don't have straw and I don't want the plants sitting on the ground. So next we're going to go down to where my cabbages are, and we are going to go pick my red cabbages. Okay, so here are the red cabbages that I planted. These are not seeds that are plants that I had started. These plants I bought from a local nursery here in this area, and it just said red cabbage. My green cabbage was the stonehead cabbage. So I don't even know if this was fall cabbage, but from what I see, these cabbages definitely lasted longer without splitting. I did have one that did split, but these ones here are still really nice heads of cabbage. So I'm gonna just push this down and just show you, like, that's a beautiful head of cabbage. And I'll just cut that. That's really a nice head of cabbage. I will put this here because I'm going to put these plants into my wheelbarrow. I was a little worried by not picking these sooner, but I came out here and looked at them and I'm like, they look really good actually. I really wish I knew the type, variety of cabbage this was. I have one more. They are just such nice heads. I hope they're just as nice inside as they are on the outside. That is just a gorgeous head of cabbage. I never used to be a fan of red cabbage, and the reason why is I would put it in soups, and the problem with that is it would turn the soup gray because the red in the cabbage would bleed into the broth and turn the soup gray. So if you're trying to make a creamy soup and you go and put red cabbage in it, you could do it with a green cabbage, but you put red cabbage in it and it's just going to turn it gray. So I don't like that about the cabbage. Now, what my plans for this cabbage is, some of it I am going to use to make beet and red cabbage sauerkraut. I'm excited to try that. I made, with my green cabbage, I did a sweet garlic sauerkraut, and the sweetness came from shredded carrots. So I took shredded carrots out of the garden and I mixed it up with the chopped green cabbage and added cloves of garlic that I put through my garlic press, and I fermented that into the sauerkraut, and it turned out really nice and the color stayed so beautiful. But I'm almost finished it. I only have like maybe a half a cup of sauerkraut left, and that batch made 1.5 quarts of sauerkraut. And I eat it in my breakfast with my eggs. I have a hard-boiled egg with some avocado chopped up into it, and I add a spoonful of sauerkraut in that, add a little salt and pepper, and that's what I have for breakfast. So I'm going to pull out these plants and put them into my wheelbarrow. And I already came in here and cleaned up all the weeds. I had some weeds growing in these walkways, from the summer, and I cleaned up all of that. I had a bunch of grass growing around the edge of the fence. Cleaned up all of that for the winter. So once I get these out of here, then I can get these beds ready to have them rest for winter. And then we can start all over again in the spring. That's the part I love, is I hate putting this stuff. Yeah, oh, that was a red onion tag. It wasn't my red cabbage tag. And it didn't even tell me what type of red onion it was either. So, get this out of here. Whew, just filled my boot a little bit with some water from sitting in the leaves of the cabbage. Not the best feeling. Okay, what does this tag say? Yeah, red cabbage. Oh, what's that? Maturity is 75 to 100 days. Large reddish purple heads, use cooked or raw. And that is it. That's all it says. This here is a green cabbage, the stonehead cabbage, and I cut the cabbage off and I left these plants, just left them in the ground. And what they've done is they have produced little cabbages. So I'm just going to pull this one out. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one's not very good, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 really nice tight little heads of cabbage, and I'm going to cut these off also. And then over here I have another one. This one here only had one really nice head that's still tight. And my sister, her and I were talking this morning on the phone. We talk every weekend on the phone for like an hour and a half to 2 hours. And she says, it's like they're little Brussels sprouts. And I'm like, you mean large Brussels sprouts? Because that's a big Brussels sprout. So I'm going to cut these little cabbages off with my knife. This one wasn't a very solid cabbage. I'm just going to cut off these firm ones. And we'll see what they taste like. I'll bring them into the house and we'll use them up. There wasn't any other good solid cabbages. So that's one there. There's one. This one's good. No, this one's good. 4. Five. And this one's not bad. It's not very big. 6. So I got 6 little heads of cabbage from leaving this cabbage out on the plant. Smells like somebody's having a fire. I love the smell of a fire outside. So with this straw, I'm just grabbing a handful of straw and I'm just tucking it underneath the plant where I'm seeing it definitely needs some straw where the dirt is showing, and I'm just finding a hole and tucking it in underneath. Normally when I have regular straw from an actual bale, I would just cover the whole thing over winter and then pull that straw back in the spring to let the plants get going, and then I would put the straw underneath the plants in the spring. Well, this time I'm just, because of the type of straw I'm using, I am just finding a spot and putting the straw underneath the plant on the ground, and I'm just skipping a step because I did not put straw on these plants to overwinter last winter, and they turned out just fine. The same thing, there's quite a bit more straw in here than there was up in that top bed, and there's quite a bit more straw in this one, but I also notice I have a lot of grass growing in with my strawberry plant, so I'm going to have to deal with the grass first. So I'm just going to plug straw into the holes where I can see that I have just open spots where I don't want the plant bearing fruit on the ground, now that I know what happens with those little worms. And that will just protect the berries, and we won't lose as much fruit next year. So I've cleaned up all of this grass that was growing in here, and now I'm just again tucking in the straw wherever I can see mounds of dirt that it needs extra straw in. And there's actually quite a bit. The only bad thing about this fine straw when you're working with it is if you get it in your socks. So if you dump any of it in your boots and it gets into your socks, well, good luck getting that out of your socks. That fine straw, you can wash it and wash it and wash it, and it just, you can't get rid of it. But try not to get it in your boots. Definitely don't want it in your socks, because you'll have a heck of a time trying to get that out. I think I ended up throwing out a couple of pairs of socks because I never could get that straw out. And I just remembered that, and I was like, oh, be very careful where you put the straw and don't dump it in your boot. Here's a spot over here. So I don't have much left. I'm just going to go around and fill in a few more spots. There's some areas down this side that I definitely need to cover in. My production of strawberries actually was really good. And I was looking at my raspberries when I was cleaning up pulling up this grass. And I might end up pruning out my old raspberry canes, and then I won't have to do it in the spring. I'll already have it done. Because if I'm just cutting out the dead stuff, the spent canes from before, it's not going to affect these plants, those raspberry plants, in the spring. Okay, I think that's it. actually put the rest of the straw into my garden shed and save it, because you never know, I might need it in the spring. Last weekend I ended up making another batch of the tomato soup that I pressure can, and the first batch that I did, I got 11.5 pints. I did another batch last weekend. I got another 15 pints of tomato soup for the winter, so that's super exciting. I'm almost done my ripe tomatoes. I only have like a half a small box, like one single layer of tomatoes that need to be done, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with those as of yet, but we'll figure something out for sure. I've pulled out my potatoes. I didn't have a ton of potatoes left to my sons as well, and I just have the Christina potatoes left. We are not eating potatoes. That is a part of our new diet. So next year I might just grow like a small little bit of potatoes for my kids. I do get the odd request to make potato salad, so I might just grow enough just to be able to do that. I'm looking at doing the sweet potatoes again. I have found some information on growing sweet potatoes in the north, and my husband is ordering me a roll of landscape barrier, and we're going to be using that to plant our sweet potatoes for next year. So that's super exciting, because we have been eating a lot of yam fries and sweet potato fries that we either bake in the oven, but I just picked up a Ninja air fryer, and I make my yam and sweet potato fries in there, and they are like wonderful. And we also make a garlic aioli to have with it, which we're allowed to have. So we've been eating a lot of yam fries and sweet potato fries. Thanks for joining me, and we'll talk again soon. Bye for now.